The second time I watched my boyfriend destroy my future, I was standing 7 feet away from him. A narrow strip of wired glass separated me from the records office. Through it, I could see Ethan Cole leaning against the filing cabinet with one hand in his pocket. He looked relaxed, almost bored, while Vanessa Price sat at the administrator's desk and moved the cursor across the screen. My grades were open in front of her. So were hers. "Are you sure this won't trigger an alert?" Vanessa whispered. Ethan glanced toward the hallway. His eyes passed over the door without noticing me in the shadow beside the trophy case. "Your mom's account has full access," he said. "As long as you don't change attendance records, it'll look like a correction." Vanessa swallowed. "What if Maya checks?" "She won't." His confidence hurt more than the betrayal had the first time on the screen. Vanessa clicked the line beside AP Calculus BC. My grade changed from an A to a C+. Her C+ became an A, then AP. Physics, advanced programming, statistics, 6 years of work moved from my name to hers in less than 3 minutes. The first time this happened, I had thrown open the door. I had screamed until teachers came running. I had grabbed the printed transcript from Vanessa's hands and demanded that someone call the police by lunch. Ethan had already changed the story. He said I had shared my password with him because I wanted help cleaning up my application. Vanessa cried and told the principal I had pressured her to use her mother's access. The system showed that I logged into my student account 7 minutes after the changes were made. That 7-minute login had ruined me. Westbridge Academy called the incident an unresolved academic integrity violation. My early applications were suspended. My scholarship recommendations were withdrawn. Every university I applied to received a letter stating that my transcript was under review. Vanessa entered Prescott Institute with my class rank and half of my research summary. Ethan went to Hawthorne University, where he posted a picture of the two of them kissing beneath the campus clock tower. I spent the next 8 years trying to prove that one morning had not defined me. Then at 26, while cleaning out a storage unit before moving into another apartment I could barely afford, I found my old notebook. Its blue cloth cover was cracked, 3 pages were missing. The lower corner was blackened from the wildfire evacuation that had killed my mother. Inside were 6 years of equations, maps, failed simulations, code references, weather reports, and handwritten notes from the night librarian who had watched me test every version of Atlas Path. That notebook would have proved everything. It would also have shown that Vanessa's so-called research project had been mine. I remembered sitting on the concrete floor of the storage unit, pressing the book to my chest while understanding how completely I had fought the wrong battle then. The ceiling light flickered. I opened my eyes at 18 October 3 application submission day. Now behind the glass, Vanessa replaced my National Mathematics Award with the Regional Participation Certificate she had received sophomore year. Ethan stepped closer to her chair. "Once the files go out," he said, "no one will care who earned what." Vanessa looked up at him. "And Maya? She'll be upset. She always gets upset when things don't go according to her plan." He smiled as if he knew me, as if he had not spent 2 years studying which fears would keep me obedient. Vanessa turned back to the computer. I stayed where I was. My hands shook, but I did not touch the door this time. I let them finish. At 11:48 am, Vanessa clicked save. A green banner appeared across the screen. Student records successfully updated. Ethan bent down and kissed her. Not a surprised kiss, not a confused one. It was practiced, familiar. Vanessa gripped the front of his sweater and whispered something against his mouth. Ethan laughed softly. The first time discovering the transcript fraud had felt like the worst thing that could happen to me. Seeing that kiss had hurt more. Now it only gave me information. They had been together before the records were changed. Their relationship was not the result of my supposed breakdown. Vanessa had not comforted him after our breakup, as they later claimed. They had planned my fall together. I stepped away from the door. The camera above the records office blinked red. Last time. I had never noticed it. This time I looked directly at it before walking down the hallway. I did not go to the principal. I did not call Ethan. I went to the second floor and stopped in front of locker 214. The lock opened on the first try because my fingers remembered the combination even though my mind was still catching up with the impossible truth of being 18 again. My chemistry book sat on the top shelf. A gray scarf hung from the hook at the bottom beneath an emergency blanket, and 2 old robotics magazines. Was the notebook? I pulled it out carefully. The cover was softer than I remembered. The blue cloth had faded around the edges, and a dark burn mark curved along the lower corner like a wave. My mother had bought it for me when I was 12. "For the things you don't want to lose," she had said. 3 weeks later, a wildfire spread through our county during a windstorm. The official evacuation map directed hundreds of cars toward a road already blocked by fallen power lines. My mother was working at a community shelter. She stayed behind to help an elderly couple reach a bus. The bus never arrived. Afterward, everyone called it a tragic failure of communication. I called it a problem someone should have solved. I opened the notebook. On the first page, written in my 12-year-old handwriting, were the words "Roads change, plans should change too." Beneath them was a crude drawing of 3 evacuation routes and an arrow shaped like a capital A Atlas. I had used the name because I did not want teachers to know I was posting unfinished code online. I was 13, angry, and convinced that if adults knew my age, they would stop listening. Over the years, Atlas Path had grown from a messy routing script into a system capable of recalculating evacuation paths when communication networks failed. I had posted sections of the code anonymously. Other developers had tested it. A few researchers had cited it. No one knew Atlas was a scholarship student at Westbridge Academy, who ate lunch in the computer lab because the cafeteria was too loud. I turned to the back of the notebook. The hand-drawn Atlas symbol was still there. So were the repository numbers beneath it. My breath caught. Last time, I had left the notebook in this locker after the scandal. The school packed it with the rest of my belongings, and I never opened the box. This time I slid it into my backpack. I took nothing else. As I closed the locker, a male voice behind me said, "I know that symbol." I turned. Too quickly. A tall young man stood a few feet away, holding a cardboard box marked Alumni Mentor Program. He wore a dark green jacket over a gray t-shirt, and his brown hair looked as if he had run his hands through it several times on the drive over. I knew him, not personally. His photograph had been on the Westbridge Technology wall for 2 years. Noah Sterling, class of 2024, Prescott Institute, Civic Computing and Emergency Systems. He was 20 now, a college sophomore, and one of the youngest contributors to the Open Route disaster response network. In my first life we had never spoken. His gaze remained on my notebook. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "It's mine." His eyes lifted to my face. They were gray, steady, and far more cautious than his question had been. "The notebook?" "Yes. And the mark?" I tightened my grip on the strap of my backpack. "Why?" He set the box on a nearby bench. "Because someone using that mark posted a routing patch 18 months ago. It kept our flood simulation from sending emergency vehicles onto a collapsed bridge." "That sounds useful." It was more than useful. He studied me without pretending not to. Unlike Ethan, he did not smile to make himself seem harmless. He did not move closer. "I've been trying to find the developer," he said. The hallway felt suddenly too bright. Students passed at the far end, laughing as if this were an ordinary Thursday. I had planned to hide the notebook, preserve the evidence, and find a way to complete Atlas Path alone. I had not planned for someone to recognize it before I reached the parking lot. "You're looking for Atlas," I said. Noah's expression changed only slightly. "It was enough. You know the name." "I've seen the repository." Most people who've seen it think Atlas is a retired transportation engineer. That was probably intentional. His gaze dropped to the burn mark on the cover. "You still haven't answered my question." I should have lied. I had survived my first life by learning not to trust anyone who showed sudden interest in what I could do. Ethan had first asked me out after I helped him rebuild a campaign database for student council. Vanessa had become my best friend after I tutored her through algebra. People liked my usefulness. Sometimes they mistook it for me. Noah seemed to read part of that hesitation. He stepped back. "You don't have to tell me," he said. "I'm here every Thursday for the mentoring program. If you decide you want to talk, ask Ms. Ortiz for me." He picked up the cardboard box. "No pressure, no request for my phone number, no attempt to touch the notebook." He walked toward the library, then stopped. Without turning around, he said, "The developer left an error in version 2.8. My heart kicked hard. "What error?" "The system treated a closed road and an unverified road as the same thing." I knew the mistake. I had fixed it in the notebook but never uploaded the correction. Noah looked over his shoulder. "Whoever Atlas is," he said, "they already figured out the difference." Then he left. I stood alone beside locker 214. My phone vibrated. A message from Ethan appeared. "Lunch together. I know today's stressful. I can check your applications before submission." In my first life, I had answered within seconds. I had told him everything. Now I opened my account settings instead. I changed my email password. I enabled two-factor authentication. I removed Ethan's phone number from the recovery options. Then I typed one reply. "I've got it handled." The typing bubble appeared immediately. It vanished. Appeared again. Finally, Ethan sent, "You sure? You know I'm only trying to help." I looked toward the records office. The camera still blinked above the door. For the first time since waking up, I smiled. I know that afternoon my official transcript was scheduled to be sent to 8 universities. It contained Vanessa's weakest grades under my name. My class rank had fallen from 1st to 73rd. My national award had disappeared. I did not stop the transmission. I went home, placed the battered notebook on my desk, and opened my old Atlas account. There were 43 unread messages. Most were bug reports and requests for permission to use the code. One subject line stood out: Horizon Civic Systems Challenge, anonymous entries accepted. The message had been sent 3 days earlier. The challenge was sponsored by 12 universities. Prescott was one of them. I read the eligibility rules twice. High school students could submit independently. Academic transcripts were not reviewed during the technical rounds. Entries were evaluated through blind code assessment, live verification, and an authorship interview. No class rank, no counselor recommendation, no polished application essay, only the work. I opened a new submission form. Project name, Atlas path, applicant name, Maya Bennett. My finger hovered over the final field. Would you like your identity concealed during preliminary review? I selected yes, then I opened the notebook to the first blank page and wrote the date, October 3, below it. I added one sentence. This time I would not fight them for the future they stole. I would build one they could not touch. By Friday morning, Ethan had sent me 11 messages. The first 4 were concerned. Did you sleep okay? You seemed distant yesterday. Want me to bring coffee? The next 3 were more direct. I need access to your application portal so I can check the supplements. You always forget formatting details when you're stressed. Send me the password before first period. By message 10, the concern had disappeared. Maya, stop being difficult. We're supposed to be a team. The final message arrived while I was standing inside First County Bank with my notebook sealed in an archival envelope. Call me now. I turned off my phone. The bank manager, a woman named Mrs. Gaines, placed the envelope inside a small safe deposit box. My father left me a box here when I was your age, she said as she slid it closed. I kept movie tickets and bad poetry in it. That sounds more interesting than mine. Important isn't always interesting. She handed me one key and sealed the duplicate in a numbered packet. I had scanned every page of the notebook before coming. One encrypted copy was on a new flash drive. Another was stored in a cloud account created with an email address Ethan had never seen. The physical book was the strongest proof, but I no longer believed in having only one copy of anything that mattered. At school, Ethan was waiting beside my locker. He wore the navy sweater I had given him for his birthday. Vanessa had helped me choose it. The thought would have hurt yesterday. Today it felt like noticing a prop after the play had already ended. Where were you? He asked. Busy. I called. My phone was off. His jaw tightened. Why? I wanted it off. He stared at me as if I had answered in another language. For 2 years I had explained every change in my schedule. I told him when I went to the library, when I left campus, and why I needed an hour alone. Ethan called it communication. I had mistaken permission for partnership. He lowered his voice. I know application week is making you anxious. I'm not anxious. You don't have to pretend with me. I'm not pretending. The hallway filled around us, students moved between classes, and a teacher pushed a cart of chemistry supplies toward the west stairwell. Ethan stepped closer. Give me your phone. No. His expression froze. It was such a small word. I wondered why it had taken me 2 lives to use it. I need to check something, he said. You can ask me. Fine. Did you change your password? Yes. Why? Because it's my account. He glanced toward the students passing us, aware that people might hear. I was your recovery contact. Not anymore. Maya, that's not normal. What isn't normal is my boyfriend needing access to my academic records. You gave it to me. I changed my mind. His face softened with practice speed. He reached for my hand, but I stepped back before he touched me. We're both under pressure, he said. I don't want us fighting over something stupid. We're not fighting. Then give me the new password. No. The softness disappeared for 1 second. I saw the boy from my first life who stood outside the disciplinary office and told reporters I had become obsessed with academic competition. Then Vanessa called his name from across the hallway. She hurried toward us, hugging a folder to her chest. Her eyes moved from Ethan to me. Is everything okay? Perfect, I said. Vanessa smiled too brightly. You left so fast. Yesterday I was worried. Why? She hesitated. Ethan answered for her. You've been acting strange. Maybe I'm tired. Vanessa touched my arm. We should have a girls' night. No applications, no grades, just us. Her fingers were cold. I looked at the hand that had moved my achievements into her file less than 24 hours earlier. Not tonight. Her expression flickered. Why? I have work. What kind of work? A project. Ethan and Vanessa exchanged a glance. It lasted less than a second. I would not have noticed it in my first life. Is it the wildfire thing? Vanessa asked. My body went still. I had shown Vanessa a few early maps 2 years ago. I had never told her the project name or allowed her to read the notebook. She laughed nervously. You know, the route program you used to mess with? Used to? You haven't talked about it in forever. I've been working on it. Her smile tightened. That's great. Maybe I can help with the presentation. There isn't a presentation. Not yet. The warning bell rang. I closed my locker. Ethan caught the edge of the door before it shut. Lunch, he said. We need to talk. I already have plans. With who? I looked down the hallway toward the library. Noah Sterling was carrying a stack of laptops through the open doors. With a mentor. Ethan followed my gaze. Something sharp entered his face. You don't need a college guy helping with your applications. He isn't helping with my applications. Then what is he helping with? I pulled the locker door free of Ethan's hand and closed it. That's none of your business. At lunch, I found Noah in a small conference room behind the library computer lab. He had 3 laptops open, a legal pad beside his elbow, and a paper cup of coffee that smelled burned. Ms. Ortiz sat across from him. She was Westbridge's college counselor, a compact woman in her 40s who wrote every note with a red fountain pen. In my first life, she had been the first adult to question the school's version of the transcript scandal. By then it had been too late. Maya, she said. Noah mentioned you might stop by. Noah looked at me. I said you might. I didn't say why. The distinction mattered. I sat at the end of the table. I want to enter the Horizon Challenge. Ms. Ortiz's eyebrows rose. The civic systems competition. Yes. The deadline is in 5 weeks. I have a working prototype. Noah did not react, but his fingers stopped moving over the keyboard. Ms. Ortiz uncapped her pen. What kind of prototype? A dynamic evacuation routing system. She glanced at Noah. He leaned back. Ask her, he said. Not me. That answer settled something inside me. I opened my laptop and logged into the Atlas repository. The account name appeared in the upper corner. Noah stared at it. He did not speak for several seconds. You're Atlas, he said at last. Yes. Ms. Ortiz looked between us. I feel like I'm missing context. Noah pointed toward the screen. Atlas Path is an open-source routing framework. It has been used in flood and wildfire simulations by at least 6 research groups. 7, I said. His eyes returned to me. You tracked the Vermont project. They mislabeled the version in their paper. A surprised laugh escaped him. It was the first time I saw him smile. Not because I was useful, because I had corrected him. Ms. Ortiz moved closer to the laptop. How old were you when you started this? 12. She stopped writing. I expected disbelief. Instead, she asked, who can verify the development timeline? I have repository records. The original notebook has dated notes. Leon Bell witnessed some of the tests. The night librarian. He used to work in municipal engineering. Noah nodded slowly. Leon designed traffic models for Worcester County. I know. You knew that and never told anyone. He asked me not to advertise it. He likes being left alone. Noah's smile returned briefly. Then he became serious. Horizon uses blind technical review for the first 2 rounds. If I stay involved as a mentor, I need to disclose that I know you. Are you a judge? No. Prescott nominated me as a student liaison. I organize testing resources and answer procedural questions. I don't score submissions. Could you influence anyone who does? I could speak to them. I waited. He closed one laptop. So I won't. There was no dramatic promise in his voice. He said it like a boundary he had already decided to keep. Ms. Ortiz drew a line beneath her notes. I can serve as the school contact, she said. But Horizon will eventually ask for proof of enrollment and age. Will they ask for my transcript? Not before the final university outreach stage. Technical evaluation is separate. That was what I needed. What happens if my transcript changes during review? Ms. Ortiz's pen paused. Why would it change? I took a printed copy from my folder. It was the unofficial transcript I had downloaded 2 days before Vanessa altered the system. My real grades, my real rank. I want you to keep this, I said. Ms. Ortiz examined the date stamp. Why? Because the official version may not match. Her gaze sharpened. Has someone accessed your records? I'm not ready to make an accusation. Noah looked at me, but he remained silent. Ms. Ortiz placed the transcript inside a file folder. If you believe your education record is inaccurate, you have the right to request an inspection and correction. The school must maintain a record of certain changes. I know. Did something happen yesterday? I want to submit a formal records access request. She studied me for a long moment. Then she wrote the date in red ink. All right. After she left to deliver the request to the registrar, Noah and I remained in the conference room. He turned one laptop toward me. Version 2.8 of Atlas Path was open. You said a closed road and an unverified road were treated the same, I said. They are. I fixed it. I guessed. How? Because the later branches handle uncertainty differently, even though you never merged the correction into the public version. I pulled up a local file. The revised model assigned confidence values to road reports instead of treating uncertain information as confirmed closure. Noah read the code without speaking. Most people became impatient when I explained systems. Ethan listened until he understood enough to repeat my ideas in front of teachers. Vanessa interrupted with compliments whenever she lost interest. Noah stayed with the logic. When he reached the end, he said, "This is better than the approach we tested at Prescott. It still fails if more than 30% of location data is corrupted. Then 30% is the next problem. Not you should simplify it, not that's already impressive. The next problem." Something in my chest loosened, my phone vibrated on the table. An automated email had arrived from Westbridge Academy. "Your official transcript has been updated." Beneath it was a link to review the new document. Noah saw my expression. What happened? I opened the file, the class rank beside my name read 73 of 184. My GPA had dropped by more than a full point. Several honors courses had been replaced with standard level classes. At the bottom, under academic distinctions, my National Mathematics Award was gone. I felt the memory of my first life rise around me. The principal's office, Vanessa's tears, Ethan's hand on my shoulder while he told me to admit what I had done. Noah closed the door to the conference room. He did not ask to see the screen, he waited. My transcript was altered. I said. When? Yesterday. Do you know by whom? Yes, he watched my face. Are you going to report it? I already requested the records. That wasn't my question. No, he frowned slightly. Not yet. I turned the laptop toward him. I need the complete audit trail. I need the original submissions to leave the system. I need them to believe the swap worked. Noah looked at the lowered grades. Whoever did this could damage every application you send. They already did. You sound like you expected it. I held his gaze. There was no way to explain the truth, not yet. I know how they think, I said. Noah looked back at the transcript. You understand that letting a false record circulate can create complications even after it's corrected? Yes. Universities may pause review. I know. Then why let it happen? Because the first time I had tried to stop the crime before the evidence was complete. Because Ethan had built his defense around my panic. Because Vanessa had cried more convincingly. Then I could speak. Because this time, I said, I want the truth to survive without depending on whether people believe me. Noah was silent, then he nodded. Tell me what you need from Horizon. A fair review. That's all. That's everything. He reopened his laptop. You'll have it. That evening, I completed the preliminary Horizon submission. I uploaded the source code, model description, testing logs, and a scanned sample of the notebook pages. I did not upload my school transcript. I did not mention Ethan or Vanessa. Before midnight, I received a confirmation number at 12:17 a.m. A second email arrived. It was from my application account. Someone had attempted to log in using my old password. The location was Ethan's neighborhood. I took a screenshot. Then I added it to a folder labeled October 4th, unauthorized access attempt. I was not collecting revenge, I was collecting facts. There was a difference. The first university to question my transcript was not one of my dream schools. It was North Valley State, a public university I had added because Ms. Ortiz believed every student needed at least one financially realistic option. Their admissions system flagged the sudden change between my self-reported courses and the official record sent by Westbridge at 8:12 on Monday morning. Ms. Ortiz called me into her office. She had my old transcript on the left side of her desk and the new one on the right. The red pen lay between them. Tell me which is accurate, she said. The one dated September 28th. Did you request any course corrections last week? No. Did you authorize anyone else to access your student account? No. Her eyes remained on me. That answer was technically different from the truth. I had given Ethan my password months earlier. I had never authorized him to change records. Ms. Ortiz tapped the official transcript. This version says you completed standard physics instead of AP Physics C. I completed AP Physics C. I know, I signed the independent study approval. She turned another page. It also removes your national mathematics distinction and places Vanessa Price first in the graduating class. Yes. Vanessa's prior rank was 68. 69. Ms. Ortiz looked up. You remember. I tutored her in 3 classes. The office door opened before she could respond. Principal Warren entered with Dean Holloway, the administrator responsible for academic records. Dean Holloway carried a tablet against his chest. He was a tall, nervous Man who treated every error as a public relations problem before considering whether it might be a human one. Maya, he said. We've identified what may be a synchronization issue. What kind of synchronization issue? We're still determining that. Did the system synchronize Vanessa's grades into my record? His mouth tightened. Principal Warren sat beside me. No one is making that conclusion yet. Then what conclusion are you making? We're trying to understand the scope. Ms. Ortiz spoke. Before they could redirect the conversation, I requested the modification log Friday afternoon. Dean Holloway looked at her. The registrar is preparing it. The request concerns a student's education record. We need more than a summary, I'm aware. I also need confirmation that all universities receiving the inaccurate transcript will be notified. Principal Warren raised one hand. We should avoid creating unnecessary alarm before we know whether the document is inaccurate. Ms. Ortiz slid my original transcript across the desk. Her teachers verified these courses. Dean Holloway examined it. His face changed when he reached the class rank. This copy was downloaded before the update. Yes, I said. Why did you download it? For my records. Most students don't download unofficial transcripts days before submission. Most students don't have their grades replaced. Principal Warren gave me a warning look. Maya, no one is accusing you of anything. Not yet, I remembered. Those words from my first life. They had been spoken 3 days before the school suspended me. Dean Holloway sat at the edge of Ms. Ortiz's desk. Did you log into your student portal at 11:55 am on Thursday? Yes. What did you do? Changed my password and security settings. Why? I received information that made me concerned about account access. What information? I looked at Principal Warren. I would like the complete access and modification records before making a formal statement. Dean Holloway exchanged a glance with him. This isn't a courtroom. No, it's my education record. Ms. Ortiz's pen moved. She was writing down every word. Principal Warren leaned forward. If you suspect another student, it would be better to tell us now, would it? His expression stiffened. I kept my voice calm. If I name someone before the school preserves the logs, they could be warned. I'm asking you to preserve the records first. We do not destroy system logs. I didn't say you would. Dean Holloway stood. We'll send a written response by Wednesday. After they left, Ms. Ortiz closed the office door. You knew they would ask about the 7-minute login? Yes. How? It was the first thing I checked. You're being careful. I wasn't careful enough before. She studied me. Before what? I looked away. The lie came more easily than I liked. Before I realized someone had accessed my application email, I showed her the login alert from Ethan's neighborhood. She printed it and signed the date across the bottom. Do you recognize the location? It's near Ethan's house. Does he have your password? He had my old one. Ms. Ortiz lowered her pen. Maya. I changed it before the attempt. You understand that sharing account credentials complicates the situation? Yes. Why did he have it? He said he wanted to help with applications. And you trusted him. It was not a judgment that made the answer harder. Yes. At lunch, Vanessa found me outside the science building. Her eyes were red. She had already started performing. I heard there's a problem with our transcripts, she said. Our transcripts. They called me into the office. What did they say? That some grades might be mixed up. She pressed a hand to her chest. I don't understand how this happened. You should ask your mother. Her face lost color. My mother. She works in records. Maya, that's not fair. She doesn't control the software. I didn't say she did. Vanessa's gaze moved past me. Ethan was approaching from the quad. He wore concern like a uniform. What's going on? He asked. Vanessa's upset. He placed himself between us, angled slightly toward her. It was a protective movement, small, automatic. In my first life, I had not noticed those details until I saw them kiss. Now I saw everything. Ethan looked at me. Did you accuse her mom? No. You implied it? I told Vanessa to ask someone who works in records about a records problem. You know how that sounds? Vanessa touched his sleeve. Don't fight. He covered her hand with his. Then both of them seemed to notice. Vanessa pulled away. Too late. 2 students walking nearby looked over. Ethan turned back to me. The school says you logged in right after the transcript changed. The school also knows a student account can't edit grades. You know more about the system than most people. There it was, the beginning of the story he had used before. I smiled faintly. So do you? His eyes narrowed. Vanessa whispered. Maya, did you do something? The question was soft enough to sound afraid. No. I'm not blaming you, I'm just confused. You should be more careful with your confusion. Her lips parted. Ethan stepped closer. Stop talking to her like that. Like what? Like she's guilty. I haven't accused her of anything. You don't have to, you're making people suspicious. I looked at the students who had slowed near the steps. Ethan wanted an audience. Last time I had given him one, this time I lowered my voice. Then you should both wait for the audit. I walked away. Ethan called my name. I did not turn around. Noah was in the library after school, reviewing Atlas Path's testing environment. He had reserved the same conference room. But this time the blinds were open and the door remained unlocked. I appreciated that he understood appearances without making them my responsibility. Your uncertainty model is failing at intersections with incomplete traffic volume, he said when I sat down. Only when the inputs are more than 40 minutes old. That still matters during communication outages. I know. I opened the notebook scan and found the relevant diagram. Noah watched the screen. Did something happen? The school started reviewing the transcript changes, and they're already focusing on my login. Can you prove what permissions your account had? Yes. Can you prove where you were? The hallway camera should show me outside the records office. He stopped. You watched it happen. I did not answer. Noah leaned back slowly. You knew exactly when the grades changed? Yes. Why didn't you stop them? I told you. You said you wanted the truth to survive. That's still the reason. What if the camera footage is overwritten? I submitted a preservation request. What if the account logs are incomplete? I have a copy of the old transcript and the security alert. He rubbed one hand across his jaw. You planned this. I prepared. You let them send false information to universities. The universities can correct information, they can't restore evidence that disappears because someone was warned too early. Noah's expression was unreadable. I closed the laptop halfway. You think I'm wrong. I think you're taking a risk. That's not the same thing. No. He looked at the battered notebook beside my hand. Who are you protecting? No one. That isn't true. My fingers tightened. I'm protecting myself by letting them hurt you first. The question landed too close to the truth. I stood. I should go. Noah did not block me. He did not say I was overreacting. He simply turned his chair away from the door, giving me space to leave. That stopped me more effectively than an argument would have. My mother died during an evacuation, I said. He did not turn around immediately. When he did, his face had changed. I'm sorry. The route maps were wrong, roads were blocked, but no one updated the plan fast enough. I opened the notebook to a scanned page showing the original county map. This is why I built Atlas. Noah moved closer to the screen, not to me. For several minutes we reviewed the model. When the memory of the fire tightened my throat, he noticed. He closed the laptop. Take a minute. I'm fine. You don't look fine. I can keep working. I know. That answer made me look at him. He pushed the coffee cup away and opened the conference room window an inch. Cool air entered. No speech, no advice, just room to breathe. After a while he said, the blind review. Notifications go out tonight. You're not supposed to know my result. I don't? Then why tell me? So you stop refreshing the portal every 30 seconds. I wasn't. He looked at the page. The refresh icon was still spinning. I almost laughed. At 8:03 p.m. the email arrived. Atlas Path has advanced to the second technical review round. My first feeling was relief. The second was fear, not fear of failing, fear that succeeding would make people come closer. I had already learned what happened when people wanted something I had. Noah read the subject line from across the table. He smiled. Congratulations. That's all. What else do you want? I thought of Ethan insisting he had helped create every success he stood near. Vanessa turning my work into proof of her own potential. Nothing, I said. Noah nodded. Then congratulations. On my way out, Ms. Ortiz stopped me near the library desk. She held a printed form. The registrar found 2 transcript print requests made after the changes, she said. Who requested them? The system lists an administrator account. Vanessa's mother. Ms. Ortiz's mouth tightened. The account belonged to her. Belonged? She says she did not use it. Where was the account accessed? That is part of the full audit. I waited. She lowered her voice. 1 print request came from the records office, and the other from the student government room. Ethan was student council president. He had a key. Ms. Ortiz folded the form. Do not confront anyone. I won't. She looked almost surprised. I understood why. The Maya Bennett everyone knew would have demanded an explanation. That girl still existed. She was simply learning that anger did not have to arrive before strategy. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. Vanessa had posted a picture. She and Ethan were sitting at a cafe table with textbooks between them. The caption read, "Some people compete, real friends help each other rise." Neither of them had noticed that the window behind them reflected Ethan's hand resting on Vanessa's knee. I saved the picture, not because it proved the transcript theft, because liars often became careless when they believed they had already won. By Wednesday, half the school knew my transcript was under review. By Thursday, the story had changed from a record error to a cheating scandal. By Friday, Ethan had decided to break up with me in the cafeteria. He chose a table near the center where students from debate, student council, and the school paper could hear him. Vanessa sat 2 tables away with her face turned toward the window, pretending not to watch. Ethan placed my spare house key on the table between us. "I can't keep doing this," he said. I looked at the key. "You've had that for 9 months. I know. Why return it here?" His eyes moved toward the nearby tables. "This isn't about an audience. Then we could have spoken after school. You haven't answered my calls. You could have sent a message. I thought I owed you more respect than that." The word almost made me laugh. I folded my hands in my lap. "What exactly can't you keep doing?" "Watching you shut everyone out." "Everyone?" "Me, Vanessa, the counselors. You're treating people like enemies. One of my school records was altered. And you're acting as if someone planned it. Didn't they?" Several conversations around us quieted. Ethan exhaled slowly. "I don't know what happened." "That must be difficult for you." His jaw flexed. "I tried to help you with applications. You changed your passwords without telling me. You started meeting some college guy in private. Now you're refusing to cooperate with the school. I filed the records request they gave me." "You know what I mean?" "No, explain it." His expression hardened. He had expected tears. He had prepared for anger. Calm left him nowhere to stand. "You logged in 7 minutes after the grades changed," he said. Students at the next table stopped pretending not to listen. I tilted my head. "How do you know the exact time?" Ethan's face emptied. "Only for a moment. People are talking. The school hasn't released the logs." Vanessa heard it from her mother. Across the cafeteria, Vanessa looked down. "So Vanessa's mother discussed my private education record with her daughter." "That's not what I said." "It's exactly what you said." Ethan leaned forward. "Stop twisting everything. I'm asking questions. You're making accusations." "No, I'm letting you answer." His voice rose. "This is what you do. You act like everyone else is stupid, and when people get tired of it, you pretend you're being attacked." The room had become quiet enough that I could hear trays moving in the kitchen. Ethan reached into his backpack and removed a folded sheet of paper. He placed it beside the key. It was a screenshot of an old message I had sent him. "You can use my login if the formatting gets weird." No date was visible, no surrounding conversation. He had prepared evidence. In my first life, that screenshot had convinced people. I authorized him to access my records. Now I picked it up. "This is about the application portal. You gave me access to review formatting, not to enter the school record system." "I never entered the school record system." "I didn't say you did." "You're implying it." Again, he had accused himself before I accused him. I set the screenshot down. "Thank you for returning the key." His face changed. "That's it. What else should there be? We were together for 2 years. And you chose the cafeteria." His eyes flicked toward Vanessa. "I chose a public place because I didn't know how you would react." There was the line, the careful suggestion that I might be unstable. I stood. Ethan stood too. "Maya, you wanted to end the relationship. It's ended. You don't even care." The question was not hurt, it was disbelief. I picked up the key. "I cared for a long time. Then I walked out." My legs began shaking before I reached the hallway. I entered the first empty classroom and closed the door. For several minutes, I stood beside the teacher's desk with my hands pressed against the wood. I had known this breakup was coming. I had watched him kiss Vanessa. I had spent 8 years understanding what kind of person he was. None of that erased the memory of the boy who sat with me on the gym roof after my mother's memorial anniversary. The boy who brought soup when I was sick. The boy I had planned to call after opening every college decision. People were rarely false in every moment. That was what made betrayal difficult to untangle. The door opened. I straightened, expecting Ethan. Noah stepped inside, then stopped when he saw me. "Sorry, Ms. Ortiz said this room was open for the mentor meeting." "It is. I can find another one." "No." He waited by the door. I wiped my face even though I was not crying. "Ethan broke up with me." Noah's expression remained careful. "Do you want me to say I'm sorry?" "I don't know." "Do you want me to say he's an idiot?" Maybe. He's an idiot. The answer was so direct that a laugh escaped me. It hurt. Noah pulled out a chair and sat at the far side of the room. He did not ask what happened. He took out his laptop and opened the newest Atlas simulation. We have a problem with the bridge waiting, he said. I sat across from him. That's your transition. You looked like you wanted something normal. I stared at the model. The bridge waiting was wrong. For the next 20 minutes we argued about whether older inspection data should be discounted linearly or by risk category. The shaking stopped when I finally closed the laptop. Noah said, "Do you want to talk now?" "No." "All right. You're not curious." "I'm curious about a lot of things that aren't mine to demand." I looked at him. He said it without looking back. At 3 that afternoon, Ms. Ortiz asked me to attend an emergency meeting in the conference room. Principal Warren was there. So was Dean Holloway, the school's attorney, and a digital systems contractor named Mr. Keene. Vanessa sat beside her mother. Ethan occupied the chair closest to the door. His parents had not arrived yet. Vanessa's mother looked exhausted. She was a narrow-faced woman with the same dark hair as her daughter in My First Life. She had taken administrative leave and later claimed she had no idea Vanessa used her credentials. Mr. Keene connected his laptop to the screen. "We have preserved the relevant access logs," he said. "This is a preliminary review. No final conclusions should be drawn." A timeline appeared. 11:42 a.m. Administrator account login. 11:44 a.m. Student record search. Bennett, Maya. 11:46 a.m. Student record search. Price, Vanessa. 11:48 a.m. Grade modifications saved. 11:50 a.m. Transcript print request. 11:55 a.m. Maya. Bennett. Student portal login. Dean Holloway turned toward me. "Can you explain your login?" "I changed my password and recovery settings." Mr. Keene nodded. The student account did not access the administrative records system. Vanessa's shoulders shifted. Ethan looked at the table. Mr. Keene continued. The administrative login originated from a school-issued tablet assigned to Mrs. Price. Vanessa's mother spoke quickly. "I left the tablet charging in my office. I did not use it during that period." "Who had access to your office?" the attorney asked. "Staff. Student aides sometimes deliver folders." "Did Vanessa know your password?" "No." Vanessa started crying. "I didn't do anything." No one had accused her yet. Mr. Keene changed the screen. The login credentials were entered correctly on the first attempt. Mrs. Price gripped the edge of the table. "That means someone knew them or had saved access," Mr. Keene said. She shook her head. "I never saved passwords." Dean Holloway turned to Ethan. The second transcript print request originated from the student government room at 12:06. Ethan looked up. "I wasn't there." "Your access card opened the room at 12:01. "I lend my card to committee members." "Who?" "I don't remember." Principal Warren rubbed his forehead. "The school attorney asked me whether I wished to make a statement." "Not yet." Ethan stared at me. Vanessa cried harder. Dean Holloway looked annoyed. "Maya, your cooperation would help resolve this." I submitted my original transcript, account alert, and device records. "We need context." "You have the logs." "The logs don't show who held the tablet." "Then I don't have more context to add." Mrs. Price looked at me with sudden anger. "You're enjoying this?" Vanessa whispered. "Mom, you're sitting there as if you planned the entire thing." The room went still. I met her gaze. "I plan to keep records." Her face paled. Mr. Keene cleared his throat. "There is one more issue." He displayed a map. The application email account associated with Maya Bennett received an unauthorized login attempt Friday night. A red location marker appeared over Ethan Street. Ethan's mother entered the conference room at that exact moment. "What is this?" she demanded. No one answered quickly enough. Ethan did. "Maya gave me the password months ago." "For application review," I said. "You asked me to help." "I changed the password before the attempted login." He pushed back his chair. "I forgot." "You forgot that I changed it." "I forgot you didn't want help." "That isn't what the system says." His face flushed. Principal Warren raised his voice. "That's enough." The meeting ended with temporary restrictions. Mrs. Price's system access was suspended pending investigation. Ethan and Vanessa were instructed not to contact me regarding the records issue. The school promised to send corrected transcripts once the audit established which grades were accurate. No one apologized. Outside the conference room, Noah stood beside the drinking fountain. He held a folder but made no move toward me. "You waited?" I asked. Ms. Ortiz said the meeting might run late. "You could have left." "Yes." I understood the answer. He had chosen not to. I leaned against the wall. They know the device. That's good. They don't know who used it. They will. You sound certain. Audit trails don't care who cries first. I looked toward the conference room door. Vanessa's voice rose inside. Her mother was arguing with the attorney. People do, I said. Noah considered that. Then let the records speak before the people choose a story. He handed me the folder. Inside was a copy of his Horizon conflict disclosure. He had listed me by name, stated that he recognized the Atlas symbol before submission, and removed himself from all communications involving the scoring panel. The form had been signed on October 3 before I submitted the project. You didn't have to show me this, I said. No. Why did you? Because trust works better when it isn't based on missing information. I closed the folder. For one dangerous moment, I wanted to tell him everything, the first life, the storage unit, the years I had lost. Instead I asked, why do you care so much about Atlas? Noah looked toward the windows. My older sister was trapped during a flood evacuation in Vermont. The official route sent her bus toward a washed-out road. A volunteer dispatcher used an experimental rerouting patch. Version 2.8. Yes. Did she survive? He nodded. She has a scar and a strong opinion about city planning, but she survived. The hallway lights reflected in his eyes. So, he said, I care. My chest tightened. Atlas had mattered before anyone knew my name. The work had reached a stranger. It had brought someone home. For years, I believed my value existed only when people could attach it to a grade A ranking or an acceptance letter. Now I understood why Ethan and Vanessa could steal those things without stealing what created them. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. You think those logs prove anything? Be careful. People might start asking why you knew exactly when to look. I showed Noah. Vanessa? He asked. Maybe? Save it. I already did. He nodded once, then as Ortiz opened the conference room door. Maya, she said. We identified the device used for the administrator login. I waited. It was Mrs. Price's tablet. I know. No, I mean the device identification shows the tablet connected through a mobile hotspot. Whose? Ms. Ortiz looked past me toward the closed student government room. The hotspot was registered to Ethan's phone. The Horizon authorship interview began with Dharmira Shah asking me why she should believe I had written any of the code. She did not smile. She sat at the center of a long table inside Prescott Institute's Applied Systems Lab, wearing a charcoal suit and holding a mechanical pencil between two fingers. Two other professors joined through video screens mounted on the wall. A disaster response planner from Oregon sat near the window. Noah was nowhere in sight. That was intentional. The first technical round had been anonymous. The second required finalists to verify authorship through live questioning, code reconstruction, and development records. I placed a scanned copy of the battered notebook on the presentation screen. Shah did not look at it. You are 18, she said. Yes. Your repository history begins when you were 13. Yes. The earliest version uses routing concepts that are rarely taught before graduate study. I didn't learn them in a class. Where did you learn them? Research papers, public transportation models, open course lectures. Which papers? I listed 4. She asked what I disagreed with in the second. I explained that its assumptions depended on stable communication between control centers, which often failed during fires and floods. She interrupted halfway through. Show me. I opened a blank coding environment. She gave me a simplified road network and asked me to build the confidence weighting logic without accessing my existing files. My hands felt cold on the keyboard. This was not unfair. That helped. Dr. Shah was not asking whether I seemed sympathetic. She wanted proof. I wrote the first function, then the second. She changed one parameter. The model failed. Why? She asked. The closure report and congestion report have equal authority. Fix it. I adjusted the source reliability weighting. She changed another parameter. The system sent vehicles toward a bridge with outdated inspection data. The Oregon planner leaned forward. Your documentation says infrastructure uncertainty is treated separately. In the current version. This isn't the current version. No. Then build the current version. For 90 minutes they pulled Atlas Path apart. I explained the earliest mistakes. I reconstructed a function I had deleted at 14. I showed how the model had changed after a wildfire drill in which buses blocked the only usable intersection. Dr. Shah finally looked at the notebook, page 72. She said. I opened it. A date appeared in the upper corner. Below it, Leon Bell had written, tested west route after rainfall. Model failed at Mercer Underpass, MB. Corrected confidence rule, 8:40 p.m. Who is Leon Bell? She asked. A retired municipal engineer. He volunteers at my School library. Why did he sign your work? He said scientists dated their experiments. Were you calling yourself a scientist at 13? No, I was trying to stop him from making me repeat the test. The Oregon planner laughed. Shah did not. She turned to another page. 3 pages are missing. Yes. Where are they? I don't know. That was not completely true. I suspected Vanessa had them. I had no proof yet. What was on them? Shah asked. The first working version of the route. Confidence formula. Convenient. My face warmed. It would be more convenient if they were still there. She tapped the pencil against the table. Your school informed the program that your academic record is under review. Yes. Does that review involve this project? Possibly. Explain. I had discussed the issue with Ms. Ortiz and the school attorney, because the investigation concerned my own records. I was allowed to state that my transcript and application materials might have been altered. I could not share protected records belonging to other students. My official transcript was changed without my permission, I said. A research summary connected to Atlas may also have been copied. By whom? The school has not completed its findings. Do you know? I have a belief. I'm separating that from what I can prove. For the first time Shah's pencil stopped moving. Good, she said. The word meant more than praise would have. After the interview, I stepped into the hallway and found Noah sitting on the floor beside a vending machine. He had 2 paper cups and a notebook open across one knee. You weren't supposed to wait outside, I said. I wasn't in the restricted corridor. You know what I mean? He held up 1 cup. Tea? I don't like tea. Hot chocolate. I took it. How bad? He asked. Shah tried to dismantle 6 years of work in 90 minutes. Did she? No. Then she probably liked it. That's how she shows approval. No, that's how she shows interest. We walked across campus to a diner near the train station. It was almost midnight when the waitress placed 2 plates of fries between us. I had not eaten since breakfast. Noah watched me empty half a bottle of ketchup onto one side of the plate. That's disturbing, he said. You invited me. I didn't understand the risk. For a while we talked about ordinary things. His sister, Claire, taught middle school science in Vermont. Leon Bell once chased 3 freshmen out of the library with a rolled-up transit map. Noah had failed his first college programming exam because he submitted the correct file in the wrong format. I asked. I know I've worked hard to rebuild my image. The diner windows reflected passing headlights. For a few minutes, I felt 18 in a way that had nothing to do with being trapped inside my younger body. Then Noah asked, what happened to your mother? The question was quiet. I could have refused. Instead, I told him I described the fire that spread faster than the county warnings, the shelter where my mother volunteered, the road closure that never reached the bus dispatcher, the voicemail she left while trying to help 2 elderly residents. I had listened to that message so many times that I knew every breath. I started Atlas because I thought if I built the right system, what happened would become useful. I said. Noah did not tell me my mother would be proud. He did not say everything happened for a reason. He looked down at the coffee between his hands. You don't owe your pain a useful outcome. I stared at him. What? You're allowed to build something because you want to, not because losing her created a debt. No one had ever said that to me. Teachers praised my resilience. Scholarship committees admired how tragedy inspired innovation. Ethan told people my mother's death made me driven. Even I had treated grief like an investment that needed to produce something impressive. I don't know who I'd be if I hadn't built it. I admitted. You don't have to know tonight. The waitress refilled our water glasses. Neither of us moved away when our hands touched near the plate. The next morning, Vanessa posted a video. She sat on the edge of her bed with no makeup and spoke about academic pressure and the danger of allowing gifted students to claim ownership over collaborative work. She never used my name. She did not need to. Half the school knew we had been best friends. She said she had spent years supporting someone who treated her like an assistant. She said. Ideas were rarely created by one person. Then she held up a printed paragraph. It described a confidence-based route system that recalculated evacuation paths using incomplete infrastructure data. My system, my language. The paragraph had never appeared in the public repository. It existed only in my notebook and in a scholarship essay draft stored in my old application folder. By lunch, the video had more than 4,000 views. Ethan reposted it with the caption, "Truth matters, even when it's uncomfortable." I found Ms. Ortiz in her office. She had already printed the post. "This passage," she said. "Is it yours?" "Yes." "Can you prove when you wrote it?" "The file metadata should show it." "Where was the draft stored?" "My application account." The one Ethan could access. Yes. Ms. Ortiz wrote something in red. The audit team found copied files on the student government computer. What files? They're still reviewing them. Was my essay one of them? I don't know yet. She looked at me over the top of her glasses. Do not respond publicly. I wasn't planning to. Good. A notification arrived before I left the office. It was from Dr. Shah. The committee requires clarification regarding overlapping language between your submission and material publicly attributed to another Westbridge student. Attached was Vanessa's video. For the first time since waking in my second life, panic took control. Not because Vanessa's claim was strong, because I had already lived through a version of the world in which people believed her. I called Noah. He answered on the first ring. What happened? Horizon saw the video. Of course they did. They want clarification. That's normal. She has language from the missing pages. He went silent. You're sure? Yes. How? She described the uncertainty model. Could she have learned it from you? I never explained that part. Then you show the timeline. What if they think I copied her? Your repository history predates her. Application by years. The missing pages don't. Your code does. I paced the hallway outside Ms. Ortiz's office. People believed her before. Noah's voice changed. What do you mean before? I stopped. I had said too much. Nothing. Maya. I can't explain. All right. He accepted the boundary, though I heard the questions he did not ask. Listen to me, he said. Dr. Shah is not deciding who seems nicer. She will compare timestamps, code history, revision patterns, and your ability to reproduce the work. And Vanessa? She will have to do the same. My breathing slowed. You think they'll ask her to demonstrate it? They should. I looked through the office window. Ms. Ortiz was on the phone, pointing to the printed paragraph. What should I send? Only what they request. Don't bury strong evidence under everything you've collected. That was exactly what I had done in my first life. I had brought hundreds of messages into the disciplinary meeting. Every irrelevant argument made the important evidence look weaker. I returned to Ms. Ortiz's office. Together we prepared a focused response, the repository history, the original file metadata, a scanned notebook page showing earlier development, a statement that 3 relevant pages were missing and that the school was investigating unauthorized access to my application files. Nothing more. At 6 that evening, Horizon confirmed that my project would remain under review. At 7 Dr. Shah sent Vanessa an invitation to complete an independent technical authorship interview. Vanessa called me at 7:14. I did not answer. She called again. Then Ethan called. I saved both call logs. At 7:31, Vanessa sent a message. You don't understand what you're doing. If I go down, you'll go down too. I took a screenshot. The school's attorney added it to the investigation file. 2 days later, Ms. Ortiz entered the library conference room carrying a sealed evidence bag. Inside were 3 torn notebook pages. They had been recovered from Vanessa's application binder. The final technical demonstration was held in a converted emergency operations center outside Boston. Rows of computers faced a wall-sized digital map. University teams occupied glass booths along the back of the room, while emergency planners and software engineers watched from a raised platform. Atlas Path would be tested against a simulated wildfire moving through 3 counties. The evaluators controlled the road closures, weather updates, signal failures, and traffic loads. I controlled the model. At 8:40 am, Noah met me outside the building. He wore an official Horizon badge marked Student Liaison, but a red stripe across the bottom showed that he was recused from my evaluation. You can't come into the control room, I said. I know. You can't answer technical questions. I know. You can't talk to the judges about me. I signed 3 forms confirming that. I tightened the strap of my laptop bag. Then why are you here? He held out a wrapped breakfast sandwich. Because you forget food exists when you're scared. I'm not scared. Then you can eat confidently. I took it. Our fingers touched. Neither of us moved for a second. Since the diner, the space between us had changed. Nothing had been named. That made every glance feel more visible. Noah stepped back first. I'll be in the public observation area. Okay. If something goes wrong, you can't help. I know. His mouth lifted slightly. You're very committed to that point. I need to do this myself. I know that too. Inside the operations center, Dr. Shah checked my identification and sealed my phone in a numbered pouch. The Oregon planner Daniel Ruiz explained the simulation. We will provide incomplete and occasionally contradictory information, he said. Your system must identify uncertainty rather than inventing certainty. That's what it was designed to do. We'll see. The test began at 9. For the first 20 minutes, Atlas performed exactly as expected. A fire crossed the northern highway. The system redirected traffic toward 2 county roads. A power failure disabled 4 signals. Atlas reduced flow through the affected intersections. Then the map filled with red. 37 roads were suddenly marked closed. 9 bridges showed structural failure. 2 evacuation centers disappeared from the network. The model froze. My stomach dropped. That was not a realistic failure pattern. Someone had injected mass corruption into the data feed. Dr. Shah looked toward the technical booth. Is this part of the scenario? One engineer shook his head. Ruiz said, "Continue if you can." The public version of Atlas would treat the false closures as confirmed and trap thousands of simulated residents inside the evacuation zone. The current version could assign uncertainty, but not at this volume, not unless I used the conservative mode I had developed after Noah questioned the 30% corruption threshold. I had not fully tested it. The fire moved another half-mile across the map. Ms. Bennett, Dr. Shah said. You need the test paused. No. I opened the command line and disabled the standard certainty filter. The model recalculated. Instead of selecting the fastest routes, it selected routes supported by multiple independent data sources. Travel time increased, capacity decreased, but movement resumed. One bridge remained marked failed by a single unverified report. Atlas sent no vehicles across it. A highway listed as closed by 3 identical feeds was flagged as likely duplicate information. The model checked satellite and traffic sensor data before reopening one lane. The room became silent for 43 minutes. I adjusted thresholds while the simulation changed around me. The system did not produce the perfect evacuation. It produced a survivable one. When the final virtual bus reached the southern shelter, the timer stopped. Ruiz leaned back. You lost 11% of route efficiency. Yes. You also avoided every corrupted closure. Yes. What would happen in a real event? People would arrive later. And more of them would arrive. He nodded. Dr. Shah closed her folder. Demonstration complete. My hands began shaking as soon as the screen went dark. A technician approached the judges. We traced the corrupted data packet, he said. It entered through the guest testing network. Dr. Shah's expression sharpened. Was that network open? Password protected. Who had credentials? Registered guests, participating institutions, and event staff. I looked toward the observation gallery. Westbridge had sent a small delegation, Principal Warren, Ms. Ortiz, Ethan and Vanessa, who were attending because their academic integrity review had not yet reached a final decision and both were still listed as school research competitors. Vanessa sat rigidly. Ethan was looking at his phone at that moment. A security officer entered the gallery and spoke to him. Ethan's head snapped up. The operations center doors opened 20 minutes later. I stepped into the hallway. Ms. Ortiz reached me first. Are you all right? I think so. That was extraordinary. What happened with the network? Security is checking devices. Vanessa stood farther down the hall with her arms folded. When she saw me, she walked over. You think this proves you're better than everyone? No. You always do. I think it proves I wrote the system. Her face twisted. Those pages were in my binder because you gave them to me. When? Last year. Where? Your house. Which room? She hesitated. My bedroom was being repaired last year. I slept in the dining room for 3 months. Her eyes shifted. You know what I mean? No, I don't. Ethan appeared behind her. Stop interrogating her. You're not supposed to contact me about the investigation. This isn't school. The instruction didn't end at the property line. Vanessa turned toward him. Did you use the guest network? His face changed. What? Security talked to you. Because I'm student council president, they asked who had the Westbridge access packet. You had it? Ms. Ortiz said. Ethan looked at her. I left it in the hotel lobby. With whom? I don't remember. Principal Warren approached quickly. No one should discuss this until security completes its review. Ethan pointed at me. She's trying to make this look connected. I haven't said anything. You don't have to. You stand there and let everyone think the worst. That seems to happen around you. His face flushed. A security officer asked him to return. To the lobby, Vanessa followed. Before she left, she looked back at me. The hatred in her eyes was no longer hidden beneath tears. That evening, Horizon confirmed that the corrupted packet had been uploaded from a laptop registered to the Westbridge student delegation. The laptop belonged to the student government office. Ethan claimed multiple students used it. The school placed him on temporary suspension from extracurricular leadership. The next morning, Westbridge released another piece of evidence. The records office camera footage had been recovered from backup storage. It showed Ethan standing outside the door. It showed Vanessa sitting at the administrator's desk. It showed them kissing after the grade changes were saved. By noon, the video had been shown to both families and the school's attorney. It was not released publicly. It did not need to be. Ethan's story collapsed first. He said Vanessa had asked him to help correct a mistake. Then he said he believed the records were practice files. Then he admitted he knew the grades were real but claimed Vanessa had threatened to expose that I shared my application password with him. Vanessa said Ethan planned everything. She said he told her I did not deserve to leave them behind. She said he promised that once they attended prestigious universities together, no one would remember who earned which opportunities. Their secret relationship became part of the motive. I thought hearing the truth would feel satisfying. Instead, I felt tired after the demonstration. I went outside and sat on the concrete steps behind the operations center. The sky was pale and cold. My hand still would not stop shaking. Noah found me there. He stopped 2 steps above. Can I sit? Yes. He sat beside me without touching for a while. Neither of us spoke. The model worked, he said, barely. It worked under conditions it wasn't designed to survive. I need to rewrite the packet validation layer. Tomorrow? I should do it tonight. Maya. I could have failed. You didn't. That isn't the point. He turned toward me. What is the point? If I stop, something catches up. What? I did not have an answer I could give him. The first life, the disciplinary meeting, the rejection letters, the years spent wondering whether I had caused everything by being too emotional, too trusting, too difficult. Noah looked at my hands. They're shaking. I know. Can I? He held out his hand. He did not take mine. He waited. I placed my hand in his fingers closed gently, not possessive, not urgent, warm. The shaking eased. I looked at him. He was already watching me. I don't know how to do this, I said. What? Trust someone without handing them control. You don't have to hand me anything. That sounds easy. It probably isn't. His thumb moved once across my knuckles. I leaned toward him before I could reconsider. The kiss was brief, careful. He gave me enough time to pull away. I did not. When we separated, he rested his forehead lightly against mine. No judging panels. I whispered. I'm recused. No secret help. I know. No decisions for me. His eyes stayed on mine. Never. My phone rang. Ms. Ortiz, I answered. Her voice was controlled, but I could hear anger beneath it. The digital review found your missing notebook pages in Vanessa's application binder. I know. There's more. The scanner history shows they were uploaded 3 weeks ago. To her scholarship application. Yes. Using whose account? A pause. Ethan's. I closed my eyes. Noah's hand remained around. Mine. Ms. Ortiz continued. The school is moving to a formal disciplinary hearing. When? Next Tuesday. I looked back through the glass doors. Inside, technicians were still examining the corrupted simulation data. Ethan had tried to steal my record. Vanessa had tried to steal my work. When neither theft was enough, someone had tried to make Atlas fail in public. They had mistaken silence for surrender. That was their final mistake. The disciplinary hearing lasted 6 hours. It took place in the Westbridge boardroom, beneath portraits of former principals who all looked disappointed by the modern world. A court reporter recorded the proceedings. The school attorney explained that this was an internal educational process, not a criminal trial. The purpose was to determine whether school policies had been violated and what corrective action was required. My attorney, Ruth Kaplan, sat beside me. Ms. Ortiz had recommended her after the investigation expanded beyond a simple transcript dispute. Ruth specialized in education records and student disciplinary matters. She wore a plain black jacket and never interrupted anyone before they finished damaging their own argument. Ethan sat across the room with his parents and their attorney. Vanessa sat beside her mother. Neither looked at the other. The evidence was introduced in order. First, my original transcript, then the altered transcript, the administrator login from Mrs. Price's tablet, the connection through Ethan's mobile hotspot, the records office camera footage, the transcript print request from the student government room, the copied application files found on a school laptop, the 3 missing notebook pages recovered from Vanessa's binder, the upload history linking those pages to Ethan's account, the unauthorized login attempt on my application email. Finally, the corrupted data packet used during the Horizon demonstration. The technical investigator could not prove Ethan personally uploaded it. The laptop had been left unattended for part of the morning, but he confirmed that the packet was created using a file structure identical to a student government cybersecurity exercise Ethan had supervised the previous semester. The evidence was strong. It was not magical. No single item proved everything together. They formed a timeline that neither Ethan nor Vanessa could explain honestly. Vanessa testified first. She said Ethan told her my transcript would only be temporarily adjusted to improve her early scholarship screening. He said Maya would still get into good schools, she said, crying into a tissue. He said her real grades could be restored later. Ruth passed me a note. Do not react. I had not moved. Vanessa continued. He said Maya had opportunities one would never have. He said she didn't need all of them. The board chair asked whether she knew the action was unauthorized. Vanessa wiped her face. I knew it was against the rules. I didn't understand how serious it was. Did you take pages from Maya's notebook? She gave me the notebook before. When Vanessa hesitated, she let me look at it during junior year. That was not the question. No, I took the pages. Her mother made a broken sound. Vanessa looked down. I only wanted to understand the project. Ethan said I needed something original for the scholarship. Did you represent the work as yours? I changed parts of it. Did you understand the formula? I understood the idea. Dr. Shah had already submitted a written statement. Summarizing Vanessa's technical interview, Vanessa could not explain the confidence model. She could not reconstruct the formula. She did not know why the earliest version had failed. The board chair asked why she posted a video implying the project was collaborative. Vanessa looked at me for the first time. Because Maya always acted like I was nothing without her. I held her gaze. She tutored me, fixed my essays, helped with my applications. Everyone thought she was generous, but she liked being the person people needed. The words reached a place I had tried not to examine because part of them was true. I had helped Vanessa without asking whether she wanted help or whether I needed to be needed. That did not excuse what she did. Both truths could exist. Vanessa's voice sharpened. She had the grades, the awards. Ethan, she had a project universities would love. I wanted one thing that wasn't in her shadow. The board chair asked. So you took her academic record? Vanessa's mouth trembled. Yes. Ethan testified next. He denied planning the theft. He said Vanessa manipulated him by threatening to reveal our shared passwords. He claimed he accessed my application account only because I had asked him to review materials. He said the transcript print request was accidental. He said the pages from my notebook appeared in his account because Vanessa used his laptop. His attorney presented selected messages showing that I often relied on Ethan for application reminders. Then Ruth requested the complete threads. In one exchange, Ethan asked me to send him my login. I answered, only for checking the essay formatting. Don't submit or change anything. In another, he complained to Vanessa. She thinks every opportunity belongs to her because she worked for it. Vanessa replied, doesn't it? Ethan wrote, not if she never learns how to share. The room became very quiet. His attorney requested a break. Ruth declined to object when the board chair allowed it. Let them sit with that message, she whispered. During the break, I stood beside the window. Noah was not allowed inside the hearing because he was connected to the Horizon process. He had sent one message that morning. You do not need to be unbreakable today. I had not answered. Ethan approached while our attorneys were speaking. He stopped several feet away. This was Vanessa's idea, he said. You shouldn't be talking to me. You know me. I did. She was jealous. She kept saying you made her feel stupid. And that made you alter my transcript. I thought it would be fixed. You used the student government computer. She asked me to print something. You tried to enter my application account after I changed the password. I wanted to see if you had submitted anything accusing me. You corrupted the Horizon test. His face changed. I didn't. Then who did? I don't know. Was it Vanessa? He looked toward her. For a second I saw the calculation. If he blamed her, he might protect himself. She had access to the laptop, he said. Vanessa heard. She stood so quickly that her chair struck the wall. You told me to do it. Her attorney tried to stop her. Vanessa pointed at Ethan. You said if the program failed, no one would care about the notebook. Ethan's mother covered her mouth. His attorney closed his eyes. Ruth touched my arm. Sit down, she murmured. The hearing resumed immediately. Vanessa admitted that Ethan prepared the corrupted packet. She said she uploaded it from the Westbridge laptop while he distracted a security volunteer. Ethan denied it. The technical investigator showed a deleted folder recovered from Ethan's personal drive. The folder contained test files matching the corrupted packet. It was not a dramatic confession, it was better. It was a record. By late afternoon, the board announced preliminary findings. Ethan and Vanessa had violated academic integrity, technology use, student records, and harassment policies. Mrs. Price had failed to secure administrative credentials and had concealed evidence after discovering her daughter's involvement. The school would correct my transcript immediately and send formal notices to every institution that received the false version. Ethan and Vanessa would be removed from student leadership and barred from representing Westbridge in academic competitions. Final decisions regarding graduation honors and enrollment status would follow within 10 days. Then Principal Warren presented me with a confidentiality agreement. The school offered to pay my legal expenses and provide independent counseling if I agreed not to publicly identify Westbridge or discuss the internal failures that allowed the records access. Ruth read it once. "No," she said. Principal Warren looked at me. "Maya, this would protect all students involved. It would protect the school. It would prevent online harassment. I'm willing to protect private student records. That requires discretion. It doesn't require me to pretend the system worked." Dean Holloway shifted in his chair. "What are you asking for?" "A written correction sent to every institution, an independent review of records access, notification to students if administrative accounts were exposed, a policy that student aides cannot enter the records office unsupervised." Principal Warren frowned. "This is not the time to redesign school policy." "It is exactly the time," Ruth added. "My client is not requesting money beyond documented expenses, she is requesting corrective measures." The board chair asked for a private session. We waited outside. Vanessa sat at the far end of the hall, staring at the floor. Ethan paced beside his attorney. When the board called us back, they agreed to most of the conditions. The school would not require confidentiality regarding my own experience. I would not release protected records, private messages unrelated to the misconduct, or the camera footage. That was reasonable. I did not need the entire internet to hate Ethan and Vanessa. I needed the truth corrected. Outside the building, reporters had gathered after someone leaked that a Westbridge student was being investigated for academic fraud. Ruth arranged for us to leave through a side entrance. Noah waited across the street beside an old silver car. He did not cross until Ruth nodded. "How did it go?" he asked. "They found them responsible." His shoulders lowered. "And the transcript?" "Corrected." "What about the confidentiality agreement?" "I refused it." He looked at me carefully. "Are you going public?" "Not with everything." "Why not?" "Because I don't want revenge to become another thing that owns my time." Noah smiled faintly. "That sounds expensive." "What does?" "Growing up. I don't recommend it." He opened the passenger door. I stopped. "Where are we going?" "You haven't eaten. You're starting to sound predictable." "That's devastating." We drove to a small park overlooking the river. He had packed sandwiches and 2 cans of sparkling water. We ate on a bench while the sun lowered behind the buildings. For the first time in weeks, no one was asking me to prove anything. Noah looked at the river. "I read the hearing summary Shah received. Was she satisfied?" "She sent one sentence." "What was it?" "Good, now we can return to the work." I laughed. "That sounds like her." "Horizon final decisions come next week. You're not supposed to know mine." "I don't." "You keep saying that. Because you keep testing it." I looked down at my hands. "Maybe I am." He turned toward me. "What are you afraid I'll do?" The honest answer arrived before the safe one. "Decide that helping me means part of my success belongs to you." Noah was quiet. Then he said, "I've reviewed 1 bug, challenged 3 assumptions, bought bad hot chocolate, and held your hand, 2 bugs. The bridge issue was not a bug, it was a design disagreement. It was wrong. We can discuss that later." I smiled despite myself. His expression softened. "Your work is yours," he said. "Your decisions are yours. Being close to you does not make me an owner." The river moved below us. I believed he meant it, believing he would continue to mean it was harder. "I'm trying," I said. "I know." That night the Horizon finalist portal updated. Atlas Path had ranked first in the technical evaluation. A new message appeared below the score. "Due to the project's potential public benefit, all 12 university partners have requested access to the final authorship presentation." 12 universities, not because of my transcript, not because Ethan recommended me, not because Vanessa stepped aside, because the system worked. I opened the notebook scan and found the page where 12-year-old me had drawn the first broken road. For years, I had thought the notebook was valuable because it could prove what they stole. Now I understood its greater value. It proved what I had built before they ever decided to take it. Vanessa's final defense was that the notebook had been altered after the fact. Her attorney argued that handwritten dates were easy to fabricate. The repository records proved that someone using the Atlas account uploaded code, but they did not prove I had been the person behind the account from the beginning. The argument was weak. It was also the only one she had left. Dr. Shah responded by arranging an independent authorship review. 3 experts compared the notebook's ink, paper, handwriting progression, scan file dates, repository history, email records, and code style. Leon Bell was asked to testify. He arrived at Prescott wearing a brown jacket older than I was, and carrying a metal lunchbox. "You made them send a car," he said when he saw me. "I told them you could take the train. They didn't trust me to arrive on time. Were they wrong?" He checked the wall clock. By their standards, no. Leon had volunteered at the Westbridge Library since before I entered middle school. Most students knew him as the man who enforced quiet hours with frightening efficiency. Few knew he had spent 32 years designing municipal traffic systems. He sat before the review panel and opened the lunchbox. Inside were old notebooks of his own. "I told the girl to date every test," he said. "She kept running simulations and forgetting which version failed." Dr. Shah asked whether he had witnessed me develop Atlas Path. "I witnessed her break it repeatedly." "Did you contribute to the code?" "No." "Did you teach her the underlying mathematics?" "I pointed her toward books. She ignored half of them and found better ones." The panel examined his signatures. Leon produced library shift schedules matching the dates. He also brought printed traffic maps with my handwritten notes in the margins. "These were stored in my garage," he said. "My wife wanted them gone. Your request saved them." Dr. Shah looked at me. "Do you recognize these?" "Yes." "Why were they in his garage?" "Because the library printer jammed whenever I used large format paper, and Leon said he had a printer at home." Leon nodded. "It also jammed." The evidence did not depend on one dramatic discovery. It came from years of ordinary habits, dates, failed tests, emails, messy revisions, the kinds of things Vanessa had never bothered to steal because she only wanted the polished result. The independent panel confirmed that the notebook had been created over several years and that the development sequence matched the Atlas repository. They also compared my live coding patterns with the project history. Authorship was verified. The Horizon final presentation took place in a circular auditorium. Representatives from all 12 partner universities sat behind nameplates: Prescott Institute, Hawthorne University, Kingsley Tech, Northbridge, St. Catharines, Lakeview, Redwood Polytechnic, Columbia Plains, Easton, Meridian, Franklin Metropolitan, University of Cascadia. I stood at the center with the battered notebook displayed beneath a document camera. My corrected transcript had already been sent to each institution. It showed a 4.0 GPA, first rank, advanced coursework, and the awards I had earned. For the first time, the transcript felt secondary. I presented Atlas Path as a tool, not a miracle. I explained its limitations. It required reliable baseline maps. It could reduce the damage caused by incomplete information but could not replace trained emergency personnel. It performed best when local agencies shared data standards before a disaster occurred. One representative asked whether I intended to sell the system. "I intend to continue developing it," I said. "That was not the question." "Then the answer is that I haven't decided." Another asked whether I would give a university-exclusive research rights. "No." A few people shifted. Dr. Shah's expression did not change, but I saw approval in the way her pencil stopped moving. After the presentation, I returned to a waiting room. Noah was there with Ms. Ortiz, and Leon opened his lunchbox. "You brought food to a university summit?" I asked. "I've attended municipal meetings. Never trust organized people to provide edible sandwiches." Ms. Ortiz laughed. Noah stood near the window. "You were good," he said. "Only good. You rejected exclusivity in front of 12 admissions and research representatives. It was a bad offer." "It was." His smile stayed with me longer than it should have. An event coordinator entered carrying a black portfolio. "Ms. Bennett, the university representatives requested that these be delivered together." She placed the portfolio on the table. Inside were 12 sealed envelopes. My name was printed on each one. I did not open them immediately. For one strange moment, I remembered the storage unit from my first life, the dust, the fluorescent light, my 26-year-old hands holding the notebook after every university had rejected me. I had wanted to return to this age so badly that I sometimes dreamed of waking inside my old bedroom. Now I was here. The impossible thing had happened, yet the person who had wanted to come back no longer existed in exactly the same way. "Maya?" Ms. Ortiz asked. "I'm okay." I opened the first envelope. Prescott invited me to a 3-day campus visit, a faculty interview, and an independent scholarship assessment. Hawthorne offered a laboratory tour and an expedited admissions review. Kingsley Tech requested a meeting with its disaster systems chair. Each letter was careful, none promised automatic admission. All 12 wanted to evaluate me outside the ordinary application process. All 12 acknowledged Atlas Path. Leon read over my shoulder. Does this mean they're fighting over you? It means they want meetings. Same thing with Better Stationery. By the 7th letter, Ms. Ortiz was crying. She denied it. Noah said nothing. When I opened the final envelope, my hands began to shake, not from fear this time, from the weight of having choices. For most of my life, I had treated acceptance as something another person granted. A boyfriend chose to love me. A friend chose to keep me. A school chose to admit me. I had never considered what it meant to choose back. That evening, the Horizon organization released a public announcement naming Atlas Path as the top technical project. It identified me as the developer. Within hours, reporters connected the project to the Westbridge Academic Integrity Investigation. The school issued a statement confirming that my records had been altered and corrected. It did not name Ethan or Vanessa because they were students. People identified them anyway. Screenshots spread. Vanessa's video disappeared. Ethan deleted his social media accounts. I received hundreds of messages. Some were supportive, some wanted interviews, several called me an inspiration. A few accused me of planning the scandal for attention. Then an anonymous post appeared on a university discussion forum. Atlas finalist had private relationship with Prescott student liaison before judging. Check the conflict. The post included a blurry photograph of Noah and me leaving the diner. Another showed us sitting together outside the operations center. By morning, the title had changed. Did Prescott rig Horizon for teen genius girlfriend? I called Noah. He answered immediately. I saw it, he said. Did you tell anyone we were together? No. Were we together? A pause. I thought we were moving in that direction. So did I. That isn't an answer to the conflict question. No, he sounded tired. Horizon has my disclosure and recusal records. They'll release a procedural statement. Prescott invited me. Yes. Did you speak to anyone there? About Atlas before October 3rd? Yes, I told Professor Lin the anonymous developer was worth finding. My stomach tightened. Before you knew it was me? Yes. And after? No. Did Professor Lin know we were seeing each other? I told him there was a personal conflict when I updated the disclosure. When? After the diner. Why didn't you tell me? I showed you the original recusal form. That isn't what I asked. Noah went quiet. He had hidden nothing improper. But he had made a decision about what information I needed. It was a small decision. That was what made it dangerous to me. I need the full record, I said. I can send it. I don't want you to send selected pages. I wasn't going to. You already decided what was enough once. His voice became careful. Maya, I disclosed everything required. To Horizon? Yes, not to me. I didn't think telling you that I reported our first date to a compliance officer would make you feel respected. It would have let me decide how I felt. He exhaled. You're right. The immediate agreement made me angrier. Don't say that. Because you think it ends the problem. I'm not. Did Prescott know who I was before the final review? No. Are you sure? Yes. Did you ask them to find Atlas? Before I met you? Did that affect the invitation? I don't know. The word struck hard, not because they proved wrongdoing, because uncertainty returned me to the same place I had spent 2 lives trying to escape. Was I chosen for my work? Was I being helped without knowing it? Would someone later claim part of the outcome? I need space, I said. Noah did not answer immediately. All right. You're not going to argue. I can explain the process. I can't tell you what you're allowed to feel. That sounds rehearsed. It isn't. I closed my eyes. I don't know whether I trust this. I know. Stop saying that. Another pause. Okay. His voice had become distant, not cold, protected. I'll send the complete disclosure record through Ms. Ortiz, he said. I won't contact you unless you ask. The call ended. I sat at my desk with 12 university invitations spread around the battered notebook. The title promise had come true. 12 schools wanted me. Yet I felt no triumph. Success had not cured the part of me that expected every open door to hide a price. The university summit was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, I arrived beneath a row of cameras while strangers shouted questions about Noah. Did your boyfriend influence the judging? Were you recruited by Prescott before the competition? Did you disclose the relationship? Are the other finalists challenging the result? Ruth walked beside me. Do not answer on the sidewalk, she said. I know. Knowing and doing are separate skills. Inside the convention center, Horizon had posted its procedural statement. Noah disclosed that he recognized the Atlas symbol on October 3. He removed himself from all scoring communications before my submission was reviewed. He had no access to evaluation scores, panel discussions, or university outreach. Decisions after our personal relationship changed. He filed an updated disclosure and stopped attending any meeting where my project was discussed. An external reviewer examined the process and found no scoring irregularity. The statement was clear. It did not answer my private question. Would Prescott have searched for Atlas if Noah had not admired the work first? Probably not. But Noah had admired the work before he knew me. That distinction should have comforted me. Instead, I distrusted how badly I wanted it to. The summit included individual meetings with all 12 universities. I entered the first one carrying a list of questions at Hawthorne. The admissions dean praised my resilience for 10 minutes before mentioning the research contract. The university would fund Atlas Path fully. In exchange, all improvements developed using its facilities would belong to Hawthorne. No, I said. The dean blinked. We can revise the publication terms. Who owns the core system? The existing intellectual property would remain yours. And derivative systems? That would depend on university contribution. Then I need the full agreement before considering the offer. He smiled as if I were being charmingly cautious. I'm sure your parents or attorney can help you understand it. My attorney already reviewed your standard agreement. The smile changed. My next meeting was with St. Catherine's. They offered strong funding but wanted me to serve as the public face of a campaign about overcoming betrayal. I'm applying to study systems engineering, I said. Not to become a full-time inspirational speaker. The representative looked embarrassed. By noon, I had eliminated 4 schools, not because they were bad universities, because their version of opportunity required me to become someone useful to their image. At lunch, I found Ethan waiting outside the private meeting rooms. He wore a suit that did not fit well and looked as though he had not slept. Security moved toward him. I raised one hand. I'll speak to him for 2 minutes. Ruth frowned. Public area, I'll remain nearby. Ethan looked relieved. Maya, thank you. What do you want? I need you to clarify something to Hawthorne. No. You don't know what I'm asking. You want me to say Vanessa manipulated you. His face tightened. She did. You prepared the data packet. She pressured me. You used the tablet. She gave me the password. You copied my application files. I was helping you. You printed the transcript. I panicked. Each answer arrived more quickly than the last. He had practiced them. I lost Hawthorne, he said. They withdrew my scholarship review. That was their decision. You could tell them I wasn't the main person. You were one of 2 main people. I loved you. The words did not sound like a confession. They sounded like evidence he expected to count in his favor. I think you loved how much of my life was arranged around you. That isn't fair. You helped erase my record because you were afraid I would leave. His eyes filled. I knew you'd get into a better school. So you made sure I wouldn't. I thought we could stay together if we had the same options. Vanessa was one of your options. He looked away. That was a mistake. No, it was a choice. The distinction silenced him. He stepped closer. Security moved again. Ethan stopped. I'm asking you to tell the truth. I did. Tell them I'm not a monster. That is not an academic fact. His face crumpled. For a second I saw the 18-year-old boy beneath the manipulation, scared, ashamed, desperate to avoid becoming the person his own actions revealed. I did not hate him. That surprised me. I simply no longer believed his pain created an obligation for me. Goodbye, Ethan. I returned to the summit. By evening I had narrowed the 12 universities to 5. I asked each one the same questions. Who would own Atlas Path? Could I maintain open source components? Would I control public use of my name? Who reviewed conflicts involving faculty mentors? Could I change research groups without losing funding? The answers mattered more than rankings. Prescott's meeting was last. Professor Daniel Lin led the delegation. He was Noah's faculty advisor. The connection was stated before we began. Noah Sterling previously alerted me to Atlas Path as an anonymous open source project, Professor Lin said. That occurred before he knew your identity. Did his recommendation influence this invitation? It influenced my awareness of the project. It did not influence the Horizon ranking. So the invitation might not exist without him. Professor Lin considered the question. It might not have arrived through this route. Strong work is often discovered because someone notices it. The ethical issue is not whether a person noticed, It is whether the evaluation remained independent afterward. That was a more honest answer than no. He handed me a copy of Prescott's proposed research terms. The university would provide full tuition, housing, and a funded position in the civic systems lab. I would retain ownership of Atlas Path. New work developed collaboratively would be governed by separate written agreements. I could keep the existing repository open. Noah would have no supervisory or grading role over me. I read every page, then I asked, "Where is he?" Professor Lin looked surprised. "Not here." "I know. He withdrew from this summit." "Was he asked to?" "No. He said his presence could make it harder for you to evaluate Prescott independently." The answer hurt. It also made sense. That evening, Ms. Ortiz gave me a sealed envelope containing Noah's complete disclosure file. I read it alone in my hotel room. The first form was dated October 3rd at 4:16 p.m. Recognize possible Atlas developer before submission. No prior personal relationship. Request removal from related scoring communications. The second was dated after our diner visit. Potential personal relationship developing. Request broader recusal from university outreach discussions. The third was dated after our kiss. Personal relationship confirmed. Will not attend finalist deliberations, recruitment planning, or institution-specific meetings involving applicant. Every disclosure had been filed before anyone required him to do it. There were no secret messages to judges, no attempt to influence my score, no request that Prescott admit me. I sat on the hotel carpet with the papers around me. My anger had not been entirely wrong. He should have told me about the updated disclosures, but my fear had taken that omission and built a larger betrayal around it. The next morning I called him. He did not answer. That was fair. I left a message. "I read the file. I understand what you did. I still think you should have told me about the later forms, but I know you didn't manipulate the review." I paused. The next words were harder. "I asked for space because I needed it. I also used that space to avoid admitting that I was scared. I'm not asking you to call me back yet." I ended the message. At the final summit session, university representatives presented their offers. Reporters waited for me to announce a choice. I did not. "I need time to review the terms," I said. One reporter shouted. "Is Prescott still under consideration?" "Yes." "Because of Noah Sterling?" "No, because of its research structure." "Are you still dating him?" "That is not part of the admissions process." The answer spread online within minutes. For once, strangers praised my composure. They did not know I returned to my hotel room and cried, not because Noah had betrayed me, because he had not. Trusting a person who had hurt me would have been foolish. Trusting someone who had acted carefully required a different kind of courage. I was not ready yet, but I was no longer running in the opposite direction. I spent April visiting universities at Northbridge. A professor showed me a laboratory with enough computing power to run county-scale simulations in real time. At Cascadia, emergency planners worked directly with fire districts and tribal governments. At Kingsley Tech, the engineering program was brilliant, but the students I met spoke about sleep as if it were a character flaw. I took notes on everything, not only the laboratories, the food, the distance from the airport, whether scholarship students could remain on campus during holidays, how professors spoke to undergraduate researchers when they thought no admissions officer was listening. I had once chosen universities by ranking. In my first life, each rejection had felt like a statement about my worth because I had given those institutions the authority to define it. Now 12 doors stood open. That did not mean I had to walk through the most impressive one. Prescott remained on my list, so did Cascadia and Northbridge. Noah did not contact me. He sent no flowers, no dramatic apology, no message asking whether I had made a decision. At first I appreciated the space, then I resented it. Then I recognized the unfairness of resenting someone for respecting what I requested. I wrote him an email. I deleted it. I wrote another. "I miss you." I deleted that too. The third became 4 pages. I explained that I had spent years, though he could not know how many, believing that dependence was dangerous. I told him Ethan's control had rarely looked like control. It looked like reminders, shared passwords, helpful edits, and decisions made for us. I told him that when I learned he had spoken about Atlas before meeting me, part of me believed the work was no longer fully mine. Then I wrote the sentence I had been avoiding. "I know that belief was not fair to you." I did not send the email. Not yet. I wanted to know whether I was reaching for Noah because I had chosen him or because losing him felt like another rejection, so I kept working. I met with Ruth to create a legal structure for Atlas Path. We formed a small public benefit organization that would maintain the open source version while allowing licensed partnerships for larger deployments. The arrangement was not glamorous. It involved insurance, data use policies, governance documents, and several meetings where adults argued over definitions. It was real. I also started a Saturday workshop at the public library. The first session was called "How to Turn a Question into a Project." 9 students registered. 4 arrived. One was a 14-year-old girl named Priya who wanted to design a bus tracking system for her grandmother. Another was a 16-year-old boy who spent the first hour insisting he had no good ideas. By the end, he had mapped a system for distributing food during snow emergencies. I did not give them my solutions, I helped them identify assumptions that difference mattered. For years, I had made myself necessary by fixing things for people. Teaching required me to let them struggle without taking over. Vanessa had once told me that my help made her feel small. She had used that feeling to justify theft. I would never accept the justification, but I could learn from the truth hidden inside it. In early May, Horizon invited Atlas Path to participate in a controlled field exercise in Oregon. The project would simulate evacuation communication during a wildfire drill. NOAA had been assigned to the same summer program months earlier. Professor Lin included a conflict management plan in the invitation. We would work on separate teams. Neither of us would evaluate the other. I signed the participation form not because of NOAA, not despite him, because the work belonged there. 2 days later, Ms. Ortiz told me he would leave for Oregon before graduation. His project starts early, she said. When? Next Thursday. I looked at the calendar. 6 days. My unsent email remained in my drafts. That evening, Leon found me in the library staring at the blank screen. You've been reading the same paragraph for 20 minutes, he said. I'm thinking. That's rarely improved by pretending to read. He sat across from me and opened his lunchbox. Inside was an apple, 2 crackers, and a hard-boiled egg. You need better meals, I said. You need to send whatever. You're not sending. I closed the laptop slightly. Did Ms. Ortiz tell you? No, you have the expression people get when they're trying to solve a human being like a traffic model. I don't do that. You built an entire system because roads were unpredictable. Of course you do. I stared at him. Leon peeled the egg. Systems fail when assumptions are wrong, he said. People fail too. That's encouraging. The solution isn't to stop using roads. What is the solution? Update the map. He ate the egg. The conversation was apparently over. I opened the email again. At the bottom I added, I don't expect an answer before you're ready, but I want you to know that I am trying to choose based on what is true now, not only on what happened before. Then I sent it. Noah replied the next morning, thank you for telling me. I need time to think about what rebuilding trust would require. I leave Thursday. I hope your university visits go well. No confession, no reassurance that everything would be fine. It was the kind of honest answer I claimed to want. It still hurt. That week, I received final scholarship terms from my last 3 universities. Northbridge offered the largest research budget. Cascadia offered the strongest field partnerships. Prescott offered less immediate funding than Northbridge but gave me the clearest intellectual property protections and the broadest freedom to work across departments. I created a comparison sheet. Then I deleted the column labeled Noah. His presence could not decide the choice. His absence could not decide it either. I chose Prescott. The decision surprised no one except me. Ruth reviewed the final agreement. Professor Lin added a clause confirming that I could move Atlas Path out of the university partnership if governance conditions changed. I signed the letter at Ms. Ortiz's desk. She used her red pen to write the date beneath my signature. Are you happy? She asked. I think so. That is not a convincing answer. I'm relieved. Different. Emotion? Yes. She handed me the envelope. You are allowed to become happy later. On Thursday afternoon, I went to the train station. Noah stood near the platform with a duffel bag and a backpack. When he saw me, surprise crossed his face. I thought you left this morning, I said. The train was delayed. That was coincidence number 1. I had promised myself not to build a life on coincidences, but I could accept one. I chose Prescott, I said. His expression became unreadable. Because of you, he nodded. That sounded worse out loud. A little. I chose it because I keep ownership. I can work with the emergency systems lab, and the conflict policy is stronger than the others. That sounds like you. I didn't come to talk about Prescott. The platform announcement echoed overhead. Noah looked toward the track. My train is boarding in 10 minutes. I know. What do you want to say? I had rehearsed several versions. None survived his directness. I was wrong to treat uncertainty as proof that you had used me. He did not interrupt. You should have told me about the updated disclosures, I continued. But you did not manipulate the review. You did not take credit for my work. I accused you of becoming someone else because I was afraid to find out who you actually were. Noah looked down. When you asked for space, he said, part of me thought the respectful thing was to disappear. It felt like you didn't care. I cared enough that staying felt dangerous. For whom? Both of us. The announcement sounded again. He adjusted the strap on his bag. I don't want to restart this in a train station because one of us is leaving. I'm not asking for that. What are you asking? A chance to talk when you come back. He considered me for a long moment. I come back for graduation. I know. And after that, Oregon. I'll be there for the field exercise. His eyebrows rose. Separate teams. Very separate. A small smile appeared. I'd like to talk, he said. The train doors opened. He stepped backward, then stopped. I missed you. The words were quiet. They did not solve anything. They were enough. I missed you too. He boarded. I watched the train leave without feeling abandoned. There was a difference between someone leaving and someone being gone. I was learning it. Westbridge corrected my record on May 18. Every university received a formal letter explaining that unauthorized changes had been made through an administrative account and that I had not participated in the misconduct. The school restored my class rank and academic distinctions. It also adopted the access reforms I requested. Administrative tablets could no longer remain logged in. Student aides were prohibited from entering records areas without staff supervision. Sensitive changes required a second employee's approval. The policy announcement did not mention me. It did not need to. Ethan and Vanessa lost their graduation honors. Their college applications were updated with the disciplinary findings. Several admission offers were withdrawn. Neither was expelled because the school's board believed removing them weeks before graduation would reduce the chance of completing corrective education requirements. Some students thought the consequence was too light. Others thought their futures had been destroyed. I stopped measuring justice by how much they suffered. The important things had been restored. The lies were documented. The system had changed. 3 days before graduation, Vanessa asked to meet me. Ruth advised a public location. We sat at an outdoor table behind the public library. Vanessa arrived without makeup, carrying no phone. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. She looked smaller than I remembered, not physically. The confidence she had borrowed from my identity was gone. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she said. Good. Her mouth tightened. I deserve that. I waited. She traced one finger along the edge of the table. I used to hate when teachers said I was lucky to have you. I didn't know they said that. They said you were patient, generous, brilliant. I helped because you were my friend. I know. Do you? Her eyes filled, but she did not cry. Sometimes your help felt like proof that I couldn't do anything alone. You could have told me to stop. I did once. I remembered sophomore year. Vanessa had told me not to review her history paper. I read it anyway and returned it covered in comments. I had thought I was helping. I should have listened, I said. She looked surprised. That doesn't excuse what you did. I know. You could have ended the friendship. I wanted your life. The honesty made the air feel colder. Not just your grades, she continued. Ethan looked at you like you were going somewhere. Teachers remembered what you said. Even when you were quiet, people waited for you to speak. So you took my transcript. I thought if I had the same record I would feel different. Did you? For a few days. She looked toward the library windows. Then I was terrified someone would ask me a question I couldn't answer. That is what happens when you borrow a life. She flinched. I did not apologize. Vanessa folded her hands. Ethan said you'd recover. He said people like you always recover. He was right. Her eyes met mine. That made it worse, didn't it? Yes. Because believing I would survive allowed them to treat survival as permission. Vanessa reached into her bag and removed a small plastic sleeve. Inside was a photograph. My mother and I stood beside a folding table at a county safety fair. I was 13, holding the first printed atlas map. I found it between the notebook pages, Vanessa said. I should have returned it earlier. I took the photograph. Why didn't you? Because it made the project feel like yours. It was mine without the photograph. I know that now. I slid the picture into my folder. Vanessa stood. I hope Prescott is good. Thank you. She waited, perhaps hoping for something more. I had nothing else to give. Not cruelty, not reconciliation, only the end of access. Goodbye, Vanessa. She nodded. Goodbye, Maya. Graduation took place beneath a white tent on the athletic field. Noah arrived 10 minutes before the ceremony. I saw him near the back, standing beside Leon and Ms. Ortiz. He wore a dark suit and no tie. Our eyes met. He smiled once, then he let the ceremony remain mine. Principal Warren did not name a valedictorian. The board had decided that the class rank dispute made the tradition inappropriate. Instead, 3 students delivered short speeches about responsibility, change, and community. I was grateful not to stand on the stage and turn my worst months into a lesson for everyone else. Afterward, families crowded the field. My Aunt Rachel hugged me so tightly that my cap fell off. She had raised me after my mother died, working 2 jobs while pretending money was less tight than it was. I knew you'd make it, she said. You worried every day. I worried while knowing. Lynn gave me a new mechanical pencil. Ms. Ortiz gave me a copy of my corrected transcript with a red line drawn through the word final. Why did you cross it out? I asked. Because no record should be confused with a person. I hugged her. Noah waited until everyone else moved away. Congratulations, he said. That's all. His mouth lifted. I'm learning not to assume what you want. I want more than one word. Dangerous. We walked toward the empty science building. The school had opened classrooms for families. Avoiding the heat, but most people remained outside, we entered the room where he had found me after Ethan ended our relationship. Sunlight crossed the desks. Noah leaned against the teacher's table. How was Oregon? I asked. Dry, complicated, useful. You look tired. You look graduated. That isn't a look. The hat was persuasive. Silence settled, not comfortable, not hostile waiting. I read your email more than once, he said. I rewrote it more than once. I believe you. I looked down at the diploma folder in my hands. I'm sorry. I know. No, let me say it correctly. He waited. I'm sorry I accused you of influencing the review without evidence. I was allowed to ask questions. I was not allowed to turn fear into a verdict. Noah's expression tightened. I should have told you about every disclosure. Yes. I thought giving you procedural distance was enough. It wasn't. I made a decision for you while telling myself I was protecting your independence. I looked at him. That sounds familiar. I know. You're not Ethan. No. I'm not Vanessa. No. But we can still hurt each other. Yes. The simple agreement steadied me. No promises that love would make us harmless. No claim that good intentions erased consequences. What would rebuilding trust require? I asked. Information before decisions that affect both of us. Even if the information feels awkward, especially then. What else? You telling me when you're afraid before the fear becomes an accusation. I nodded. And you? I need to stop using distance as proof that I'm respectful. The room was quiet outside. Someone shouted for a family photograph. I stepped closer. I still want this. Noah's eyes held mine. So do I. This isn't a dramatic reunion. I left the orchestra outside. I'm serious. So am I. He reached for my hand, then stopped before touching me. The familiar question was in the pause. I closed the space myself. His fingers wrapped around mine. When he kissed me, it was not like the first time. There was no adrenaline from surviving a demonstration. No fear that the moment might disappear. It was slower, warmer, chosen with full knowledge that choosing did not eliminate risk. When we separated, Noah rested his forehead against mine. When do you leave for Prescott? He asked. August 23rd. I return from Oregon on the 20th. That sounds suspiciously convenient. Field schedule, not fate. Good. He smiled. I missed this. Arguing. You correcting me. You were wrong often. Reconciliation is going well. We left the classroom together. Near the exit, I saw Ethan standing beside the trophy case. He looked at Noah, then at our joined hands. For a moment I expected him to approach. He did not. He lowered his eyes and walked away. That was the last time I saw him at Westbridge outside. Aunt Rachel called my name. Noah released my hand so I could join the family photograph. Not because he was hiding, because the moment belonged to me. After the picture, I reached for him again. This time everyone saw. 3 months later, I carried the battered notebook into Prescott Institute Civic Systems Lab. Noah was not there. That was one of the reasons I knew I had chosen correctly. He had returned from Oregon, but the university's conflict plan kept him outside my research supervision. He worked with a separate field deployment team and had no authority over my grades, funding, or laboratory access. We met for dinner. We studied in the same library. We argued about transportation models, but when I entered the lab, I entered under my own name. Professor Lin introduced me to the research team. No one called me a prodigy. Dr. Shah had apparently warned them that I hated the word. My first assignment was not glamorous. I spent 2 weeks cleaning county road data and documenting inconsistent bridge labels. Real systems work, I learned quickly, involved far more spreadsheets than public demonstrations. Atlas Path entered a controlled partnership with 3 emergency management agencies. The public benefit organization retained ownership. Prescott funded development under a written license. Every improvement had a documented contributor. Every major decision required review. It was slower than letting one person control everything. That was the point. The Saturday workshop continued online. Priya built a prototype bus alert that sent simplified messages to older phones. The boy who claimed he had no ideas created a neighborhood snow supply map and convinced a grocery store to test it. I helped them without becoming the center of their Projects, some weeks, that was harder than writing code. Vanessa enrolled in a local college after completing an academic ethics program. I heard through Ms. Ortiz that she studied communications. Ethan took a gap year. His parents moved him out of state. Neither contacted me. The absence of conflict felt strange at first. I had lived so long across two versions of my life, waiting for the next accusation that peace felt unfinished. Then ordinary days began to accumulate. Morning coffee, missed buses, laundry, code that failed for boring reasons, Noah forgetting to charge his phone, me staying too late in the lab and receiving a message that said, "I am not ordering you home. I am informing you that the dining hall closes in 22 minutes, I replied. That sounds like an order with legal editing. He sent, accurate. Our relationship did not become perfect. In September, Noah accepted an invitation to speak at a civic technology conference, and forgot to mention that Atlas Path would be discussed on the same panel. He told me as soon as he noticed we disagreed. He contacted the organizers, disclosed the relationship, and moved to a separate session. No silent resentment, no discovery after the fact. In October, I received an offer from a private disaster technology company. The salary was more money than Aunt Rachel had earned in several years. The company wanted exclusive commercial rights to Atlas Path. I said no, not because money was corrupting, because the terms would have prevented small public agencies from using the system. We negotiated a limited license instead. For the first time, saying no did not feel like losing an opportunity. It felt like defining one. On the anniversary of my mother's death, I took the notebook to a hill overlooking the county where the fire had started. Noah came with me. He brought coffee and did not speak until I did. I used to think Atlas had to become important enough to justify what happened, I said. He sat beside me on the dry grass. And now I think what happened was terrible. The system can still be useful. Those things don't have to pay for each other. He nodded. We watched cars move along the rebuilt highway below. The county had installed new emergency signs and upgraded its communication network. Atlas Path had not caused those changes. People had worked on them for years. I was part of something, not the entire answer. That understanding felt like relief. Back on campus, Noah gave me a package. Inside was a new notebook, dark blue cloth cover, unmarked pages. I ran my hand across it. Are you replacing the old one? No. Good answer. The old one contains the development record. The new one is for whatever comes next. I placed them side by side on the library table. The battered notebook no longer looked broken, it looked used. There was a difference. Noah sat across from me. What are you writing on the first page? I don't know. That's new. I'm developing flexibility. Atlas version 4.0. Don't name my personality updates. He opened his own laptop. I uncapped Leon's mechanical pencil. For several minutes, I stared at the blank paper. In my first life, I would have written a plan, a list of goals, a timeline proving that I would not waste the second chance I had been given. But my life was no longer a debt. I did not need to earn the right to keep it. I began with one sentence. I was never the grade they stole, the girl they left, or the story they told about me. Noah looked up. Are you reading over my shoulder? You wrote very large. I covered the page with my hand. He returned to his screen. I continued. I was the person who chose what came next. The words were not about Ethan. They were not about Vanessa. They were not even about 12 universities opening their doors. The invitations mattered, the corrected transcript mattered, the public recognition mattered. But freedom was not having everyone finally agree that I deserved a future. Freedom was knowing the future remained mine even when someone disagreed. I looked across the table. Noah was working through a flood model report, one hand wrapped around a paper cup. He did not complete me, he did not rescue me. He was a person I loved because he saw my ability without demanding ownership of it. And because when he made mistakes, he stayed long enough to repair them. I closed the new notebook. You wrote 2 lines, he said. They're strong lines. Shah would ask for supporting evidence. Shock him by her own notebook. He laughed. We left the library after sunset. The campus paths were lined with yellow leaves, and the air smelled like rain. Noah reached for my hand. I let him take it. Not because I needed someone to lead me. Not because being chosen proved I was valuable. I held on because I wanted to. At the bottom of the library steps he stopped. What? I asked. Nothing. You're staring. I'm allowed. Within reason. He kissed my forehead. Come on, he said. You promised to eat dinner before midnight. I promised to consider it. That is not what the message says. You save the message. I preserve evidence. I looked at him. He smiled. The joke should have reminded me of everything that went wrong. Instead, it reminded me of what had changed. Evidence no longer meant I was preparing for betrayal. Sometimes it meant we cared enough to remember what we had promised. We walked toward the dining hall behind us. The library windows glowed against the dark. The old notebook rested safely inside my bag. The new one waited beside. One held the roads I had survived, the other held roads I had not drawn yet. For once I was not afraid of not knowing where they led. I knew who would choose the next turn, me